people did not know my journey. And whoever heard this part of the journey, they were a bit flabbergasted because they could not see the vulnerability of a 7-year-old kid and match it with a 49-year-old hammer that I had become.
Embodies this entire spirit of resilience, of fortitude, and of embracing many identities. Smriti Irani burst into public consciousness through the serial Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi. I know everybody is always laughing at my grammar, so I don't want to get that wrong. But she's had a spectacular life, both in politics, as a public leader, in entertainment. She has taken on the most impossible political battles, lost some of them, won some of them, most famously the one in Amethi against Rahul Gandhi. She's held many ministerial posts as HRD minister, as textile minister, as minority minister, as women and children. So many facets of, very crucial facets of our national life. And now she's having a second round at her avatar in the entertainment world by coming back to Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi after many decades, a couple of decades in fact, and being very successful at it. We would love to know what has moved her as a person from the origins that she's come to occupying the public space that she has had. And at a time when we are gearing up as a nation for 33% reservation of women leaders, her story, her travails in public life, and her opinions, agree, disagree, are a very, very powerful, both celebratory and cautionary tale. Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you for being here, Smriti. Mr. O.P. Rawat described the ordeal through which he had come here. You can take a minute to describe yours, but I've already been sharing.
No, so if you heard the earth shake, that was me running through Terminal 1. My apologies, I don't look like the quintessential Smriti Irani with my sari and my black glasses. This is me when I'm disheveled. But thank you for waiting, and hopefully we'll have a nice conversation.
Yes. Thank you very much for being here. You missed the little sort of cameos of your life that we put out, but it was very interesting because it captured the feisty range of your public life and, of course, as a, top-of-line entertainer. But particular phrase there that caught my attention. You said you have seen India from the ground up, right to the sky and from the ground. And I wanted to start at ground zero, Smriti. Not everybody would know the origins from which you came and which you literally fashioned your life out of. So talk to us a little bit about the, we were talking about the disenfranchised world that Shiv Nadar supports. You came in a way from a disenfranchised background. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, you're at Bikaji Kama place, and if you come out of this very building and you just step to your left, at Dholakwa is the bus stop opposite the Army Club. That's where my father sold books on the street. And if you go towards Shanti Niketan, Anand Niketan, that's where my father sold books as well. The only difference was that when he was selling books at the bus adda in Dholakwa, he would sell second-hand Hindi books. And if he was selling stuff at Shanti Niketan, they would be English. At the age of 7, I asked him why this differentiation in language. He said, बस अड्डे से मजदूर घर लौटता है और शांति निकेतन में सब अंग्रेज़ी बोलने वाले मुख्यतः रहते हैं, तो उनकी जो हाउस हेल्प हैं या वो खुद कई बार इक्लेक्टिक सामान पढ़ने के लिए वॉक्स पे चलते चलते they may pick up a publication or two. They say life comes a full circle. At that age, I remember that conversation distinctly because it was very rare for me to see my father go silent when I spoke. In front of the bus adda, I used to keep staring at the Army Club. And I told my father, I said, what if one day the men who go in that club in uniforms with the flag on their cars, there comes a day when they salute me. And when I was sitting at Shantiniketan, because post-school I would sit with him with a little plastic box and collect the money that he would earn, I said, what if one day I have a house here? Those are the two moments where my father kept absolutely quiet. I think that it's God's greatest blessing that I did serve in a cabinet where, by the very disposition I had and the constitutional rank I had, men in uniform did salute me. And I did end up buying a house on that very street where my father sold books.
Wow. But you know, I do want to bring out more of this because in many ways it's a transformative story. It's also a story that will resonate for many reasons with many people. So this was not the only thing. You were thrown out of your house when you were 7 years old. And do talk to us both about your mother and your own first few jobs so that we get the full world from which you pulled yourself up.
I think the contradictions, the dichotomies that I've seen in my life have been quite wonderful. My parents got married in 1975 during emergency. What was delightful about their marriage was that my father is a congressman and my mother is a Sanghi. And obviously they separated when I was 7.
Oh, they separated?
Yes. So I told them, I said, where in the world did you get an idea that a congressman and a Sanghi would get married and that marriage would last forever? So at 7, when they separated, that's when I left a house that he had in New Colony, which was on rent. One of your colleagues here, Aishwarya, is from the same gully as I am. And New Colony is one of those far and beyond places 40 years ago where not many would venture, especially if they had a nice bank balance. I still remember that when we were leaving, we are 3 sisters. My mother held on very tightly to a gas cylinder that she had. Because 40 years ago, having a gas cylinder in itself was a big issue. And I stood in front of that house, and my mother was very eager to leave. And I said, one day, the house we are being thrown out of, maybe I'll buy it. And I did go back to that house when I was moderately successful as a professional. I stood in front of it. I called my mom. I said, I'm here. And she said, what do you feel like? I said, I don't want to buy it. Nobody buys their miseries. And I left. But I did again return because a colleague of mine wanted to film something about a house that I belonged to. And I went back to that house. Somebody ran from a shop nearby. There is a store there called Super Dry Cleaners. And that is the day I realized that the house that I called my own, even though it was rented, was actually the dry cleaner shop's wash setup. It was actually not a house. So as a child, you build up on a lot of memories. As an adult, you tend to see a lot of stark realities about issues that you held very dear. And I think that that journey kind of builds you. So when people see somebody who is not stoic but extremely ferocious, and people ask, why do you have a consistency in your rage?
In your rage.
They don't realize that it is a manifestation of a journey. It is not a happenstance.
You know, just to understand a little bit more, you said about this Congress and Sanghi division in your family. Why did you get attracted to one path more than the other? Is a question I'd like to come to. But before that, you know, you're describing these externalities. And I'd like to add, unless you want to talk about it, that your mother was also cleaning in Taj Mansingh. She was cleaning bathroom floors.
I, Shoma, have absolutely no problem in talking about my childhood or what my parents did. Because I think in a country of 1.5 billion people, not everybody is born to wealth. Not everybody is born to comfort. there are not many people who have the blessed opportunity of attaining success and then talking about their journeys, which are actually not as rosy as they would like their PR agencies to present. I think that what flummoxed a lot of people is that I never spoke about myself. In my 25 years of public life, political life, I always spoke about either a project that I belonged to, or the political organization I belonged to, or the government when I was a cabinet minister. People did not know my journey. And whoever heard this part of the journey, they were a bit flabbergasted because they could not see the vulnerability of a 7-year-old kid and match it with a 49-year-old hammer that I had
Firebrand.
become. So I think that, yes, my mother was a housekeeper at Taj Mansingh. And to this day, I'm very grateful that she had that job, because that job afforded me an education in a convent school where I became proficient in the English language. The biggest blessing was that the Tata Group at that time said that if your kid manages to get 60%, then we ensure that their education is free. So the only ambition at that time was to make sure that you make it to that cut so that the company that my mother was employed by would pay for my education. So
Yeah.
I did study, I don't know how many people know of this place called Arkepuram in Sector 12. There was a small ramshackle school which is made of tents, canvas tents. And it was only till standard 5. The convent school was on the road opposite us. In the 5th standard, I would stare at that school every day because that was a fancy school. And I would land up at their gate every day, and the nuns would come out and shoo me away. A month after me standing there, they came up and they said, "What do you want?" And I said, "How do I get into your school?" So they said, "If you sit for an exam and you do well, then you get in." They wanted to basically, the school that I had studied until then possibly did not conform to regulatory benchmarks. So I sat for their internal assessment, and they wanted to see whether I qualify for the 6th standard. My mother said, "We can't afford this." But of course, the team at Taj afforded that education. So I think that that was again a momentous, that little opportunity
window.
or little, I guess, zindagi ka mode, as they say.
Right.
where-
And just to linger on this a couple of minutes more, was that, so even your first few jobs, you applied for, or you
Oh, I
went for
applied for many jobs. One of my first ones was at Janpath, $200 a day to sell a beauty product. And Manoj Prabhakar, the cricketer, I don't know why, but he had opened up some beauty product line. And this was what, 92. And for $200 a day, and the job was that if you could sell a certain number of products, you would be called the next day for another round. That possibly is the first time that I realized that I was not that bad as a professional, because a lady bought 2 products and then came back to me. I don't know who that lady is, but I could forever be grateful to that one human being, because she came back and she said, "Do you know why I bought this? I don't need this." I said, "I have no idea, ma'am." And she said, "That's because you know how to speak." And I think that kind of was a light bulb moment for me. I'm like, "Oh, acha, bolne se bhi kaam chalta hai." So yeah, that is the day where I decided if I could possibly get a platform to speak and that could help me get a job, then why not?
So and then, you know, you were, if the internet is correct, then you also wash dishes at McDonald's.
Yeah, but the fascinating part is that once I discovered that I could fairly speak, I actually applied for Miss India. In between Miss India and that street job, I had done logistics business with my father, where I was one of those employees that was made to run between ISBT, Golda Khana, and I don't know whether everybody is here from Delhi NCR, but possibly then you would know. So between the main bus station, the interstate bus station, the postal office, Palam, Hawaii Adda, I would be running between 3 places to help unload stuff which came for a courier company and do manifests and everything. And after I got good at that job in just 6 months, I said, what if I buy the agency?
You've been
And
planning
my
to take over
father-
the world.
Yeah, so my father just looked at me. He was like, what makes you think that you have the capacity to buy a business? So I realized that I didn't have the means, the methods. And suddenly on the cover of Times of India, there was this whole thing about become Miss India and the whole world will change for you. I said, what the heck? I filled the form, sent it without telling anybody. Till one evening, my phone rang. And obviously, this was that one phone once upon a time. And my father picked up and they said, we are calling from Times of India. And you have to, Smriti Malhotra, that's my maiden name. इनको भेज दीजिए. ये पहले नॉर्थ जोन के राउंड में रहेंगी. And ladies and gentlemen, when I said life comes a full circle, the hotel that I came to was this very one.
This one.
This one. So this was a fancy place. और बीकाजी कामा place में जाना है. One assistant was sent to say, इसका कुछ नहीं होने वाला, इसको जैसी स्टेज पर खड़ी होगी, reject कर देंगे, उठा के वापस लेके आओ. There were 17 rounds, and every round I would pick up my bag and go to the gate, and somebody from Times of India would run after me to say, listen, you made it to the next round. And I was like, acha. And I did not know then. A gentleman walked up to me and said, you look like a kid who needs a good break. I'm like, pata nahi kaun hai. I later realized that the man was Pradeep Guha, who picked me for the finals. And that was a whole new world because I had never seen this part of the world, media. And I remember in Mumbai, when we all contestants sat down, everybody had something unique on the table. And when they turned to me and said, what can you do? I said, I can speak. And they all looked at me as though I've lost my mind. So a colleague who's now on television with me, she was also a finalist with me, Gauri Pradhan. And she's like, kid, you need help. I said, listen, boss, bakiyon ka pata nahi, but one day you and I will still make it. So we ended up on the same project together. And I did tell her very immodestly, so don't worry, जो भी Miss India बनेगा, कोई इसको याद नहीं रखेगा, हम दोनों को लोग याद रखेंगे.
So just one last detail, because it was a poignant detail that I heard, and then we'll move to your public life, was that, again, when Smriti's...
After that, I joined McDonald's because I could not get a job.
So it was the first
So
McDonald's.
the first job, and in fact, I had actually gone to apply for Jet Airways. Thank God I didn't get that job. And so I went there to become a stewardess. And they looked at me and they said, you don't have personality. I'm like, pehle bol dete. Because they took a whole day and I kept sitting and waiting for my turn to come for the interview. At the end of the day, they said, nothing doing, off you go. And the cubicle next to it was the first ever McDonald's that opened in India. And I walked up to them and I said, you are interviewing for people. They said, listen, we are out of every other vacancy has been filled. Only one is left, that is washing the dishes. And I said, I'll take that. And I still remember the guy's face because the next question I asked him, I said, listen, I'm beginning with washing dishes. Tell me, how do you become manager? And the guy just looked at me, he said, wash dishes first. I said, take care.
So again, for us to understand, as I said, you missed that, but the firebrand that you were, we can see the seeds of this. I mean, you're so mellow right now, I'm forgetting the film, But I wanted to share one detail and then to ask you about your Nanaji. That
somebody just came up to me in the waiting room saying that, we would like to invite you to a festival of love. I mean, very kind of her. I don't know whether she's in the audience. I don't know why she thought of me when she thought of love. So I said, if you're doing a festival of intimidation, fear, screaming, please call me.
Right, but just an interesting detail again that when Smriti's mother was working at Taj Mansingh, the chef used to send club sandwiches back for her. And once she became a minister, I think you went back to Taj Mansingh.
The first house I got as a member of parliament was opposite Taj.
Right.
So I went to the roof and I called my mom. I said, guess what I can see? And the chef at Machan, my mother would do night shifts and 7 o'clock is when we had to go to school. So she would return home at what, 6:30 or barely at 7, just about dashing through the door. And the chef was kind enough to kind of bring together leftovers or get us a club sandwich. So when I got that house as an MP, I called my mom and I said, come over to Delhi. I took her to Machan. I said, today we'll pay for the sandwich.
Yeah. So, but also, and in little bits and pieces across interviews that you've done with others, but you did speak that, apart from the economic, privation that you were coming from, that you were also coming from a pretty patriarchal, mindset, both with your mother and your father.
Not with my mother.
But you said
My
it's your
father's,
Nanaji that really gave your chutzpah some...
I think the word patriarchy today is so burdened with the negativity that women like me have to defend when it is misused. So if you say that my Nana is a manifestation of patriarchy...
No, I was saying your Nanaji was your inspirational figure.
So my father comes from a very conservative North Indian background. I'm the first girl in his family to ever have a job. My mother is, if you think I'm fiery, you should see where I come from. But I understand my father is the child of a refugee because of the partition. My grandfather, my dada saw a lot. And their first instinct was to protect every woman, every girl in the family. And in those years, their definition of protection was marry her to a family that can protect her. So when I left Delhi when I was 17 years old. I told my father, I said, if you genuinely believe in the values that you've given me, in the capacities that you've built in me, let me go. And he did. When I talk about my father, I think my greatest mishaps in life is that my greatest political achievement that has been ascribed to me thus far, which is defeating the national president of the Congress party, is the only joy my father never celebrated.
Didn't celebrate?
No.
Because he was Congress?
He is.
Is. Okay. So
my mother always waited very tentatively in any room he and I were together in for that room to explode. So my father would just refused to acknowledge that I did this. And if there was ever a conversation anywhere around him, a sense of jubilation, he would snap back. So I think to live that life of contradictions, where you feel that if you've been celebrated for something, the one person who should be a part of that celebration says, nope, that's something I don't like about you.
So I did ask you that question, and I want to come back to it about, as your personal predilection caught between these two very polarized political positions, why you were attracted more to
I also have family members from the left. Don't worry.
Okay. And you married a Zoroastrian.
No, Zoroastrian doesn't ascribe to a political philosophy, but in my
I'm
own
saying
family...
at least you half represent a minority.
No, no, I don't think an Indian can be a minority in his or her own country.
Okay, we are going to come to those. We are going to come to those decisions. Yeah. We're going to come to those discussions. I just want to...
there are only 55,000 people of that religious origin in our country. So if Parsis think they are not minorities, then I'm very proud to be married to one.
Right. So I wanted to ask you, just to really understand this personal fabric of who you are, that apart from taking, and at every juncture wanting to buy the structure that was just outside of your reach, whether a house, a company, any of these things, but you also, while you had already entered the world of entertainment, you married somebody who was already married and you took on his daughter. So talk to us about that, Was there a big dilemma in your life, or did you have a kind of clarity of going for it?
No, my parents gave me two choices. My father, in fact. Either to marry somebody they had chosen in England. The other option was to marry a divorcee. My father presumed that I will pick London and never pick the divorcee.
You're just being facetious now.
So he was, I think, gobsmacked when I said, I will not leave the country. Because we came from a position that we are economically challenged. So that prospect of marriage looked like literally a rescue mission. So everybody in my father's family thought, what is wrong with Smriti? If somebody very rich, very eligible wants to marry her in London, why would this idiot not accept the proposal? I was very clear that I'll become somebody on the basis of my own merit and that I would not want to leave my country. Now, this is 30 years ago, where everybody, especially who is economically disenfranchised, feels that that is, the ticket to good times. So I dug my heels in and I said, no. And my husband and I sat down. He had only one priority in life, where he wanted his child to have a friend because the child already had a mother. And I wanted to work. So it was a great handshake. It's a great partnership. And there are not many people who have the privilege of marrying their best friend. I did that. So you never see me publicly socialize a lot. In fact, never. Delhi mustn't have seen me socialize at all. Mumbai has never seen me socialize. And many colleagues ask me, why? I said, because I married the best friend that any human being could have. So all I need to do is get back home.
Right. No, that's wonderful. So, just coming from this whole arc that you've come, Smriti, of course, Kyunki Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi was an amazing hit. It went on for years. I think 1,800 episodes. You featured in almost every single one of them. You entered your political life in the middle of that. So before we come to your political life, your public life, your political choices, even the show itself, and Ekta, who also has led a fairly unconventional life, but the show has been critiqued for being conventional, in some ways culturally regressive, positioning women.
What is culturally regressive? To wear a sari?
No, not to wear a sari, but
Then, what is culturally regressive? To have a woman stand up against marital rape, because that's what Tulsi did.
But also to have the, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law stereotypes.
So all of these women who have a mother-in-law, are they regressive?
No, not to have a mother-in-law.
Or who may be somebody's daughter-in-law, are they regressive?
No. Now,
and all of these men who are somebody's son-in-laws, or maybe our father-in-laws.
Okay, so let me put the question to you differently.
Please.
No, but you're just saying that if they have a mother-in-law,
I'm
daughter-in-law.
asking, what is the regression?
It's the, the family politicking.
So our family is regressive?
No, okay, let me put it to you differently.
Please do.
That if you were to distill the essence of Tulsi and the show, what do you think Tulsi is? And
I
has
just described her.
No, you were just describing the jigsaw pieces.
And her response to it. That's it. That's a make-believe character.
Yeah, but the distillation of her, what do you think that she was speaking to in society? What is the values that you were communicating?
She was not speaking to society, she was speaking to her mother-in-law.
Okay. Smriti.
No, but true.
You're not being a performer in the sense of...
I'm not being trapped. I'm not being trapped.
No, not trapped. I actually want you to assess what is the character that you were playing to your description of her, not mine.
You were wanting to describe it as though, it's God's
I said
gift.
Critics have spoken of it.
Critics are supposed to be critical.
I know, that is why I'm asking it for the...
They are not supposed to be mindful. They are not supposed to be honest. They are supposed to be that individual's political reflection of what they see on planet Earth. So why should I waste my time?
So again, I'm asking you that from the horse's mouth, literally,
like I said, I'm doing a Saas Bahu show. I'm not there to intellectualize it. My intellectual capacities can be seen when I, as Smriti Irani, perform a certain task. So if you want to check my intellectual capacities, I wrote the National Education Policy of India. If you want to check my intellectual capacities, I created India's first MOOCs platform, where today on SWAYAM, 2 crore students are learning through IITs and IIMs. If you want to check my intellectual capacity, then I was the textile minister that created the first ever HSN codes for textiles which are of technical nature. Textiles that are used for satellite building, textiles that are used to build airports, geotextile. The HSN codes were done by me. If you want to check my intellectual capacities, then India's national ranking framework, which ranks every higher educational institution, was done by me. If you want to check my intellectual capacities, then the first ever digital platform for Hajis in this country was made by me. If you want to check my intellectual capacities, then the first nutrition tracker in the world, which is the largest, serving 100 million beneficiaries, was made by me, and it got the National Civil Service Day Award from the Prime Minister of India. That's me.
That's a good CV, a great CV. So I want to
It
come.
is.
It is, it is. And then when you know, so I'm asking you because we're here.
You're
on a
asking
more
me for CV of Tulsi Virani, you have to talk to Ekta Kapoor.
Okay, that's fair. That's an answer I'll take. Okay, so coming back to that question I've been posing and not waiting for you to answer, that caught between your father's politics and your mother's politics, what attracted you to...
No, I was not caught. I think one of the greatest anomalies is when we think that listening to multiple views is a struggle. I think the greatest joy I've had from my upbringing is that my parents quintessentially raised me to listen to everybody, to respect everybody's right to an opinion, and at the end of the day, have my own. It was never a struggle.
Okay.
My father is constitutionally adept to have his own political views, and so does my mother, and so does every other member of my family. What I choose is not a result of a tug of war. It is my own individual decision. And I think the best thing that has happened for me is the way that I was brought up with multiple voices on multiple issues and multiple ideologies, because that helped me make my decision in a very informed fashion.
So I was asking you that when you chose a particular path, you know, which was to enter the BJP, align with the Sangh, you know, what were the qualities in that which attracted you more than, say, the Congress?
The only quality which says, put your nation first.
Okay. And were there any aspects of it that bothered you? You know, even now in your years as a minister, you've often said that...
I think that you want to live in a state of utopia, but you have to recognize that what is the quintessential foundation of the ideology that you stand for? The foundation of my ideology is to put my country first. I never say that we all live in a utopian age. But if I am to aspire for that utopia, what is the best vehicle? Then I'm in that vehicle.
So, you know, before this, we were having a discussion about all the arguments that there have been over SIR and the electoral...
I think Shubrasta represented us very well. Was she there?
Yes, she was there. She was there, though she said she's not from the party and that she's more just ideologically right, center right.
When I said us, that means Indians.
So, Smriti, you know, apart from just having really fun, punchy lines on stage, there are some things implicit.
What's wrong about being fun?
No, I am not saying that. I'm saying
and what's wrong about a punch or two?
No, nothing wrong about that. I'm saying...
You thought you'll have a very nice conversation.
I am having a nice conversation.
Okay. Yes.
I think implicit in those, you know, even if it's just for a rise, the implicit in that is that those who don't agree...
What is there for the rise?
I'm saying... Implicit in that idea that, you know...
I'm not the very flowery language kind. She is. That's why it takes me a while to kind of understand the insinuation.
No, there's no insinuation.
Yes.
I'm genuinely asking you. So one was that it's a nation first. And I was asking you that aspects of that, you know, having come from, as you said, where you listen to everybody, you come from, you know, you married somebody.
So look at the beauty of my journey. I have a parent who is from the Congress party. I end up going to the one constituency which has been generationally theirs. And what do I find when I go there? I find that there is no collector's office. I find that there is not a single dialysis facility there. I find that there is no MRI machine. I find that there is no police line. I find that the chief medical officer there has no office. I find that there is, in fact, no police line there so that there can be a vyavastha for policemen and women to stay there. I find that there is a bus adda which has been waiting in a Vidhan Sabha called
I think that point is well made.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. I find that that bus stop has not been made for 30 years. I find that the Congress party has taken land, which is the citizens' land, to build a medical college, does not build it, but builds a guest house for themselves. So when I go there, I work for a good decade, of which 5 years I was an MP. In the 5 years that I was MP, I helped build 1 lakh homes. 80% homes did not have electricity or water supply. I got that installed. I ensured that 3.5 lakh farmers got joined to the national scheme so that they had cash transfers. I helped build the first medical college, the first 200-bed hospital, the first dialysis center, the first passport center, the collector's office, the medical officer's office. I got the first MRI there. And for the first time in the history of the constituency, I connected it to the national highway. So if there was any response to my father's politics, that was my response.
No, and fair enough, you won an absolutely historic victory. And it was very difficult.
I did not limit myself to the victory. My victory was just a medium of manifesting what I could possibly do in that place in just 5 years. My promise was that 5 years is actually enough for somebody who is very focused in a constituency that is the most challenged. I'm the first person to complete 5 years in office in that constituency who's not from the Gandhi family. So for me, what was important is that if I have the opportunity to serve, can I establish those credentials? Can I establish that benchmark to say that I may differ with a parent's political point of view, but what do I do out of that difference of opinion? Do I ensure that it fructifies as a positive fruit for my democracy? Or do I just limit myself to squabbles at home?
No, and as I said, whether your father celebrated it or not, whether anyone who agreed or disagreed with your politics or your party's politics, I think everybody was saluting the victory that you had because it was a difficult one
in defense of my father.
In defense of your father.
It's very rare for me to defend a congressman. But in defense of my father, that same parent had the grace to seek an appointment with the Prime Minister of India. Not as a congressman, but as a father. And sat in front of him and said, I could never imagine that my daughter would have the opportunity to serve our country. You gave her that opportunity, so you have my gratitude. So I've seen the same father extend that gratitude to the highest office in the country.
So, you were listing, I was going to ask you because and why I also asked about your childhood is because the DNA of your taking on very tough battles was there right from the beginning, so whether taking on Kapil Sibal, you lost 2 elections. Before you won the Rahul Gandhi, Amethi election, you'd lost 2, there was a 10-year gap, so to even agree to take on that was and you barely got 20 days to, canvass the campaign the first time. So these are very difficult decisions to accept.
Not many people remember, Shoma, that when I first went to Amethi to fight, Sonia Gandhi was chairperson of UPA, was in power, and Samajwadi Party was in power in Uttar Pradesh. So principally, I was going into a political constituency where defeat was certain, and powers that be did not want me around.
So 2 questions. One is that, your entire life already shows that you have the appetite for a fight. You have no fear, and you're ready for, the pit fight. But your party putting you there, at a time when you had the patronage of all the powerful leaders in the party, do you think that you were put there?
What does patronage means?
Well, okay. Fair to call me out on that. Absolutely fair.
Because
let's say the respect and the trust of people.
I think the disrespect in that use of that term is
absolutely,
this.
I agree and I retract that.
That if you're a female and you make something out of yourself, it is only because you may have patronage. I was not sent to Amethi because I had patronage or lack of patronage. I was sent to Amethi because I was the best damn candidate to send there so that the Congress national president could be defeated. Very simple.
Fair enough. And I'm retracting that word.
Good.
It's just a way of speaking. But so if you did all of this, Smriti, and against all odds, and as you said, in 5 years you did more than, and it's shameful that the Amethi constituency is not a model constituency for the entire country. Why do you think you lost after that? You know, and I want to ask you more in terms of your learnings from being in politics.
I think that my loss in 2024 possibly will be best described in a bestseller biography that is written for me, by me, or maybe about me. Those are not conversations or nuances of politics that I would discuss at this juncture of my political journey. But as a politician, what brings me great relief is that I did so much work that people say, "Itna kaam karne ke baad haar gaye." My greatest shame would have been if people in the country would have been joyful that kuch nahi kiya isliye haar gaye. So I'm glad that I set that standard. And it is for people who believe in democracy to reflect on. If we reward politicians for being consistent in service, if we reward politicians for transparently pursuing the good for the people, of the people, and by the people, then we will see a huge change in Indian politics.
Fair enough. So, you know, just coming to your ministerial, as I said, and again, you missed all the introductions, so I'm having to repeat it, but you held many important positions.
Yes.
The most obviously high profile, you know, in many ways the most sort of high
Contentious
octane one, contentious one. You'll again say कि बड़ी बड़ी शब्दों use कर रहे हैं. So was the HRD minister. But looking back, Smriti, and this really is a platform for reflection, for deeper discussion. So I'm not actually just trying to.
No, it's ignition. So ignite away, please.
Ignite away.
Yes.
But that when you look back, just as a leader, you know, are there things that you would do differently? Are there things you needed to learn?
Yes.
What are
I would
those?
have done great PR.
Great PR.
Yes.
With
I
your
was
party
busy-
or with the
No,
society at large?
With people as important as you. I would have, seriously, I'm not kidding. I spent 10 years working with my nose genuinely on the ground, with my eyes on the letter of the law. And this is an advice Jaswant Singh gave me in the year 2003, and I never listened to him. Jaswant Singh ji was kind enough to personally sit me down with a nice cup of tea to say, "Beta, you are beginning your political journey now." I was all of 26 years old then. I think so. My maths is very garbad, but I'm 49 today, so do the math. He sat me down and he said, "Delhi is a different animal. You need to make sure that you have a bunch of journalists who say how good you are." And at 26, I was stupid enough to look at a legend like Jaswant Singh and say, "No, sir, people will appreciate the fact that I'm working very diligently." So if you ask me, what would I do more? PR. But then I think to myself, since you're asking me to reflect, if I fall prey to the same scheme, then will I truly be Smriti Irani? I have walked into rooms where people have told me, "Don't take the tough decision, it'll make you unpopular." And I've said, I will take this decision because it's good for my country, it may not be good for my PR. Do I regret those decisions today? Absolutely not. One of the first controversies that took place when I was Minister Education was that an MOU was put before me. What was that MOU? That somebody, when Mr. Sibal was Education Minister, was kind enough to replace the third language of India with a foreign language. I was told to sign that document that declare a foreign language as the constitutionally accepted third language of India, which is an umbrage to the Indian Constitution and the Indian Parliament, and I refused. I was literally told that if you do not sign this document, there will be a controversy. I said, let it be, but I will not sign this document.
So,
That was my first controversy. My other controversy is when a scientist walked up to my male staff and said, "Tell the minister to lean on me, let me make choices of who she should pick as directors of IIT. She can just merrily sign a file." And I said, absolutely not. Why? Because I had known of that person to curry favors and go and impress upon the scientific community that if you don't play ball with that gentleman, you will not become the director of the IITs. One of the people that he had pushed away was somebody who made satellite communication systems for one of our missile programs. That scientist walked up to me and said, "I don't curry his favor, so I don't get a job. So I had a choice. They said, if you go up against this person, ma'am, bad PR, controversy. I said, hell with it. I will make sure that there is no scientist who's denied that office as IIT director, even if I get a bad press. So looking back, what should I have handled better? Press.
Press. Okay. If you put it like that,
It is that.
It could be. And again,
It is, because it's me. It's not you.
fair enough. You know, it's good. You're trapping me in the grammar of it.
No, but
So-
I was minister, you were not. You're asking me my experience, so I'm telling you
of
mine.
course. I'm now talking again from the and again, Smriti, in all fairness, you know, the reason that I really wanted you here was to share the fabric below the public life, so that one understands what it takes actually to live public journeys. You know, so I'm really not here to have a traditional television debate. And again, as somebody who's been through my own cycle of you know, many ups and downs, I completely understand the gap between the public perception and the personal experience. So I'm not doing that.
I also feel that there is no gap, the gap is deliberate. When I talk about my work as a minister, I have a moment to either decide how I opine on a file or use that same time to convince a journalist of my point of view.
I'm just going to look at the time so I understand how much time we have. Okay. Yes.
So I would rather use that time to do public work than to do personal work so that I could have a journalist look upon me kindly.
But the only thing that I'm
So
pressing
it
you
was
on-
not something it was not as though I'm a victim where I did not convince the press well enough. I deliberately did not
You
share
made a choice.
details.
Yeah.
I made a choice to not share details of my work.
Fair enough. The only position that I was pushing on, and I'm not challenging your experience or your, you know, your articulation of your own experience. What I'm asking you is that if it was only a press problem, and again, I want to understand really about the way one functions when one is in a powerful position, that if this was only a bad PR, press going after you, etc., why would your party move you out of the HRD minister into
Because I
other
had finished,
positions?
I had finished the work that I was supposed to do. I had already written the education policy.
So you don't see it as,
No,
you know, as
I would
a
think
reduction
that
of your
no,
prominence?
not at all.
and-
I've been a cabinet minister for 10 years.
Yeah, of course, as minister.
In fact, I had full charge of INB. I was a cabinet ranked minister for textiles. I'm the first female cabinet ranked minister for education textiles in our country and the first female ranked cabinet minister for minorities. I can understand my party reducing my role if I'm taken from cabinet straight and made MOS. That didn't happen. I moved from one cabinet desk to another. So how is that reduction? I was number 6 in government.
Fair enough. I just want to go on one particular.
You see, these are the things that I never articulated because I thought that it was very abrasive to say, look at me, I'm so powerful.
Did you feel that?
What?
That inside, did you say, look at me, I'm so powerful?
No, that's why I didn't articulate it.
Okay, fair enough. Okay,
Because
I want to
think
come.
no, Shoma, I think I never looked at my political. I've served 16 years in the Indian Parliament. I'm a 3-time MP. But I never articulated it. So people who thought, oh my God, here comes an actor, becomes the HRD minister in 2014. I'd already served in the upper house. I've already served as the national president of the women's wing in BJP, served twice as the national secretary, been a part of the national executive from Atal Bihari Vajpayee's time all the way to Narendra Modi's time, at an age where most people were just about beginning their political journeys. So I had this whole range of experience, but I never articulated it. So many people are discovering me now through conversations such as this to say, oh, you've been around for 25 years. I'm like, yep.
Before we move away, you know, as I was saying earlier, that we're gearing up for 33% women's reservations.
Yes.
So I do want to understand what it is like to be a woman in very powerful power structures, you know, whether in the party, public life, etc. Again, learnings, triumphs, all of that, not just from your perspective, your personality, but others. But before that, I do want to stay just a little bit on the other big controversy that happened during your HRD, was Rohit Vemula's, suicide. And there again, I'm now going by the interpretations. I didn't write on you personally, so don't personalize this. I'm trying to understand it. That people writing on you and the perspective on it was that while being a minister, you had got into student politics with
No.
ABVP or with,
No.
with your articulation of it as...
If I articulate something for my country, why is there articulation for ABVP? If I say nation first, if I say we need to correct, let me give you an example why people would say I'm an ABVP person. An IT director walks up to me and says, you are opening up an investigation against me, please do not, because I know fala person. And I say no. What is the investigation? He opens an overseas campus, which is not allowed by the Act of Parliament. He does financial transactions in that overseas campus. He says, well, I have the sign from the erstwhile UPA minister. I said, but that is constitutionally, financially, a transgression. So he says, if you don't stop, this is an ABVP agenda. I said, I don't care what agenda you think it is. By law, I am supposed to do this. I went ahead and started the investigation. So he goes amongst, and he was from IIT Delhi. Now let me be specific. He goes out and tells somebody in one newspaper that, oh, Smriti Irani said, मेरे को खिड़की से बाहर फेंक देगी. She's very badly behaved. I called people back to my room with the gentleman, and I say, look at my room and come back in 1 week. He comes back in 1 week, and I said, now look at my room. What is the difference that you see? I said, पिछले हफ्ते जब आपने पत्रकार से कहा था मैं आपको बाहर फेंक दूंगी खिड़की से, मेरे कमरे में खिड़की नहीं थी. एक हफ्ते में मैंने CPW से खिड़की बनवाई है. For that person that I'm investigating, his charge is, I'm doing an ideological agenda. And I have case papers for everybody. I don't run universities. But I understand I had the audacity to go and challenge Rahul Gandhi in Amethi, so there will be controversies around me. In fact, one of the excerpts of the speech that you showed, the entire issue has been addressed on the Forum of Parliament with evidence, which I've tabled. Everybody in opposition said, you will have to, in fact, write down, give evidence, and submit it on the floor of the Parliament. I have given every paper. And to this day, not a single political party could challenge that evidence. Why? I've evidenced everything I've said. So there is politics and there is political reality. And I've always evidenced political reality that I espouse.
So I was coming to the question about being a woman.
No, you posed a question and I answered it. And any citizen who wants to hear about it should look at parliamentary records because I've evidenced everything I've said. So much so that the next morning...
Are you talking about the caste identity of...
every issue that was raised by the opposition, by the media, was all evidenced in Parliament. And not a single political organization during Parliament challenged it because it was fact that was spoken. One is to wish away questions such as yours, which make some politicians possibly a bit uncomfortable. I'm very comfortable in confronting the truth because I have not spoken a lie on that issue. I have said it in Parliament and evidenced it, and every citizen should access it. The second issue is, why the controversy, especially when I was Education Minister? Because I was the one minister who said, I have not been put in a position to maintain status quo. I have been brought into position to challenge status quo. Why is it that for 30 years, no education policy was written for our country? Why is it that policy that was written was always the opinion of a few in Delhi and never taken out so that people of this country could opine on it? We went to every district. We went to every village education council. It was never done in the history of our country. I took 2 years to compile every parent-teacher meeting input for policy. So I was doing that work, and when you challenge status quo, do you think those who are being challenged will keep quiet? Another example, Shoma. In the year 2014, when I took office, I told every university in the country, especially the ones which are government funded, you have an academic council, please upgrade your curriculum as per your desire and the needs of students that you serve. Go back and check that order. I'm the one who signed on it. So if I was such a mufassil who would go strangle people's academic journeys, would I sign such an order? It is on record. And that is why I am as belligerent as I was in 2014, because I know the file that I signed.
So I was asking about being a woman leader in both in the BJP and then as a minister, you know, so as we hope there's going to be a massive influx of women leaders into public life with 33% reservation. What do you think have been the most difficult aspects of navigating both the party and you know, you've made the point about the press.
Nothing is different. Nothing is difficult. It isn't. I mean, I've come from the bottom up. I'm not pontificating because I'm some dynastic progeny.
Now you're doing the PR that you didn't do earlier.
No, I'm not. I don't need to do PR. There is no election on the anvil. And none of them are my voters. None of them are from Amethi. At least last I checked. So what PR?
Do you think there's no frictions, no difficulties?
I came from the bottom up. Even in the BJP, I came from the trenches. So if there's one person who can vehemently talk about it, that's me. At least I can speak from my journey. I can't speak from somebody else's. And you can't typecast every individual to your journey. So I can tell you about my experience. Nothing is difficult. Every individual, man or woman, is told politics is a difficult journey. They say this to you so that you are dissuaded from not jumping in. This is my country. It is my right to serve it. And every Indian should take this attitude when it comes to politics. There's nothing difficult about it.
So just, you know, I'm going to open this up to the audience because we're going to run out of time. But just as feisty woman to another feisty woman.
Yes.
Whether you like her politics, don't, you know, much like your father, she's at the other end of the spectrum.
Now that's
what
PR.
Do you make of, what do you make of Mamata Banerjee?
Now that's PR.
What? Which is PR?
For that individual.
Mamata?
Of course. But do you know that I worked with her when she was a part of the...
Are you saying what I just said was, I'm so flabbergasted?
Of course. It's because Bengal is on the anvil.
Sorry?
Bengal is on the anvil.
I mean, come on. Whether Bengal election, again, no, no one's voting Bengal here. I'm just asking you that she has the reputation, being a firebrand, no godfathers.
Shoma, I'm very mindful of the
of
fact that this is not a closed-door meeting where nobody is recording on the mobile phone.
Of course,
I'm a politician, for heaven's sake.
Okay. Fine. I'm going to open this up and then I'll ask the last few questions because we're really late. Are there any questions in the audience? Yes.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. My name is Suhail. I'm part of Shiv Foundation. I've studied from Vidyan, philanthropic initiative of Shiv Foundation.
Can you bring the mic closer to your mouth?
Yeah.
Just ask the question because...
yeah, my question is that you mentioned that your ministry from HRD to textile was not a downgrade side. Your work as framing the national education policy was done. Why your own party was not impressed your work and why that you did not get more prestigious ministry?
She's actually already answered
I've already
this.
answered that.
Yeah, she's already answered this. Pass the mic to someone else.
If it was not prestigious enough or relevant enough, do you think she would call me for an interview here?
No, and by the way, textiles, minorities, women and child, you know, yes.
Ma'am, I'm Prabhat Goel, IIT Kharagpur, 1977. My question to you is, what would be your advice to people who do well in school, join IITs, IIMs, St. Stephen's, and other people, to later do India first and join politics and move the nation ahead? I was very disappointed by
Just that much question,
Just
sir.
one
Sorry.
little bit.
Yeah.
By a person like Mr. Sridharan, who really contributed to Delhi Metro, then going and losing an election. And that's the reason I asked you this
That's a reflection
question.
on the voter, sir, not on the person. if truth be told, it is not a reflection on Sridharanji.
But what would be your
I
advice?
think that one of the greatest fallacies about politics is that you can only serve your country if you're a member of parliament. You can politically serve your country if you register yourself to vote. You can politically serve your country if you're at a traffic light and don't break the signal. You can serve your country if you don't spit on the road or don't try to bribe the cop or any other government official. That is also service, and that is also being political. You can congregate like-minded people and voice your opinion or write or create enough social impact on a policy, a law, or for that matter, a public representative. You can, sir. I've done
Ma'am,
it.
these people are in
Okay,
a
no,
minority.
so I'll have to stop it there. Please,
Doesn't
let's
matter,
give
sir.
others an opportunity.
Even
Yes.
if you think that there is just one of you, even if you think there's just one of you, it just took one of me to defeat the oldest national political party in this country. It just took one me. So the other fallacy is, to dissuade people, is that you need a horde and that one individual can't make a difference. Trust me, sir, I've had 30 years of experience. All you need is one human being.
So I'll take just one other question and then, yes.
The lady here, and that
Oh, sorry, there's a lady here. Yeah.
vigorously the hand is
Yeah.
going at the back as well. Yes.
Okay, I'm from mental health professional. I'm a psychologist. So these days, people are talking about work-life balance. As you worked on at the woman level, you are a
Woman level?
woman level means work-life balance because you are a working woman.
Why aren't you asking the men? Aren't they balanced?
No,
Not
no,
like
and because there is a corporate world where people are talking about how many hours of work-life balance. Like there are someone who is like Infosys talking about how many hours, 70, 80 hours in a
Then
week
the
you have
same
to work.
corporate wants us to
No, no, I
compete
want
with
your
China.
opinion because you worked as a political person on those
So
positions.
you're asking her for a perspective on
Your
work-life
perspective
balance.
on that.
Firstly, why are work-life balance questions only asked to women?
No, ma'am, I'm asking from the mental health professionals' perspective.
हाँ, mental health तो आदमियों को भी तो होता है.
Ma'am, that's why I'm saying it because for the women it is about
No,
working as-
she's got the
कोई
question.
बात नहीं.
Just, yeah.
आप संक्षेप में मुझे क्वेश्चन बताइए.
मैं ये जानना चाह रही हूँ कि आप कहना चाह रहे आपने बहुत पॉलिटिकल लेवल की पोजीशंस को हैंडल किया है तो अपनी पर्सनल लाइफ प्रोफेशनल लाइफ एज पर यू द बैलेंसिंग ऑफ दैट मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल्स
मैं
वर्क
वही-
लाइफ बैलेंस
मैं-
एज पर यू व्हाट इज आइडियल इट मे बी द वर्किंग
मैं वही कह रही हूँ. आप मेंटल हेल्थ प्रोफेशनल हैं ना, साइकोलॉजिस्ट हैं, तो आपको पता होगा कि अपनी ज़िंदगी दूसरों की एडवाइस से नहीं जी जाती, अपने दम पे दी जाती है.
मैम बिल्कुल बट
that's
और
fair
मैं
enough.
कभी
No, that's
किसी
enough,
को
that's enough.
एडवाइस
Let's
नहीं
just pass
देती
it to the last
जब आप
question
जैसे
and then we'll
प्रोफेशनल्स उपलब्ध हैं एडवाइस देने के लिए.
Yeah, right. Last question there.
दिस इज मायक सिन्हा एंड आपने पूछा था अभी कि अमेठी से कौन है, तो मैं अमेठी से हूँ,
अरे वाह.
तिलोई से.
वोट आपका कहाँ पे है?
वोट इस समय मैम लखनऊ शिफ्ट हो गया है.
ये देखा, तो इसका मतलब अमेठी से नहीं है, लखनऊ से है भाई साहब.
जी आप सही
हाँ,
कह
तो
रहे
फिर सही बोले भाई साहब.
हैं, एकदम सही बोला है आपने. बस खाली इतना
क्योंकि
पूछना
अगर
था
आप तिलोई से होते
कि जी
तो इस वक्त सूट बूट में नहीं होते भाई साहब, ना ही वो चश्मा होता आपका,
कांट
ना
से
ही
हम
बाल इतने स्लिक होके आपके पीछे होते, क्योंकि तिलोई वाले का चप्पा चप्पा मैं पहचानती हूँ, इसलिए कह रही हूँ.
आई थिंक
आपकी पोनी भी है ना सर?
या
हाँ, तो फिर अगर आप तिलोई में होते पोनी के साथ तो मैं पक्का आपको पहचानती. बताइए सर.
कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं मैम, सिर्फ ये पूछना है कि तिलोई में आपको
नहीं है क्वेश्चन?
अमेठी में वापस लाने के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा?
हाँ जी,
अमेठी में वापस लाने के लिए आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा?
अमेठी वापस लाने के लिए?
जी हाँ मैम.
भाई मेरा घर है उधर, इसलिए कह रही हूँ तुम अमेठी से नहीं हो.
Thank
That
you, thank
gentleman in the back, come back to Amethi, come back to Tiloi with the ponytail. हाँ जी, वहाँ पे हैं सरदार साहब पीछे, blue turban.
Hi, good evening. This has been the best fireside chat I've ever seen with Shoma and the celebrity coming in. So,
That's a compliment to Shoma.
no, it's compliment to you.
नहीं नहीं.
So, a compliment here that my mother serves as educationist, and I just told what HRD ministry was doing on new education policies coming. But on the far end of her career, she said somebody first time in last 25 years of her career thought about the children first and not about the schools per se. So that was first thing.
And
which
that is why I didn't do PR. What mattered is people like her who are in the field, who will know what I did.
And listening to you today, I just want to understand what he probably meant. Is it Tulsi, Smriti Irani, or the diva we just saw talking about what's the next role you are taking for the Indian people?
Well, I just got elected by my party from the state of Uttar Pradesh into the National Council. So, as Tom Petty said, the future is bright and it's not yet over.
Actually, that should be a note to end on. There's just one question, Smriti, which remains because it was a very, again, a big milestone in your life. And I know your answer, the public ones that you've already given, so I'll just recount it to the audience. That I think it was 2003 or 2004, 2003 probably, where Smriti actually challenged Mr. Modi when he was the chief minister in Gujarat, and the riots had just happened, and she said that unless he resigns, she would fast. And then, she retracted, and of course, has worked very strongly with Mr. Modi over many years. When a journalist asked her about this, she said, it's because of the coverage that you all did that I was mistaken and I falsely challenged him. So that's the story that everyone knows. My question to you, Smriti, is something else, which is that if that had not been a false story, if any of those situations would arise again and were true, not with Mr. Modi.
I thought you were a journalist steeped in fact and not fiction.
No. Hear my question through. I'm not asking about Gujarat. I'm asking you something else, which is a philosophical and your predilection, like what you're aligned to as a value system. So I'm not asking about Mr. Modi. I'm not asking you about Gujarat, because as I said, you've already made your public statements on that. I'm saying if a communal atmosphere in the country heats up again, if there are any incidents like that, would you fast unto death to stop that?
I can only assure you that Narendra Modi would never stand in the midst of Delhi and said कि जब बड़ा पेड़ गिरता है तो धरती कांपती है.
No, you're making it.
No,
of
no,
course, there's that. That's the
You want
constant
my
I'm asking
answer
whether,
to suit your purpose? That cannot happen. My answer is my answer.
No,
I
Smriti,
can
hear
just
my
assure
question.
you.
Hear my
I heard
question.
the question.
What is my question?
Your question is you want me to philosophize about an if and a but and a when and a why?
No, I'm not asking about either the Gujarat or the Sikh riots.
No, I know that. I didn't say Gujarat. I didn't say Sikh also. I just said Delhi and Modi.
Yeah, you're quoting what Rajiv Gandhi said when the
Did
Sikh
I?
riots happened.
You're saying
Of
Rajiv
course.
Gandhi said that?
It's of course. I mean, I'm not a Congress
So you're
person,
saying
so I'm
that
saying
Rajiv Gandhi is the one who ignited the Sikh riots?
Smriti, you are
No, I'm not.
kind of
You did.
leveraging me into positions which are not even mine. I'm neither Congress nor BJP.
But
I'm asking you a
if the position
question.
is not yours, then there's no harm in giving me clarity, so that I can respond better.
Yeah, so I'm asking you a question, which is
So
that
let's hear the question perfectly. Give me your
Yes.
question now.
The question is that whenever the communal temperature in the country builds up, either by the BJP or the Congress or Mamta or any of it, what do you feel like, where do you stand on the
I stand with
communalization of things?
I stand with a surname called Irani as a practicing Hindu. Where do you think I stand?
Okay, that's a great answer. Thank you. That's a good note to end on. Ladies and gentlemen, Smriti Irani, absolutely, saying it as it is. And like she said, she speaks for herself. She's not speaking for others, and she speaks it straight. It's been a real pleasure having
Thank
you
you.
here. Thank you for being here, Smriti.